You know, 4G this, 4G that, there's no denying it. 4G's out there everywhere. You know, you hear 4G on Verizon, on Sprint, on AT&T, on T-Mobile. You hear it everywhere. Billboards and advertisements and more. What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and along with that 4G advertising scheme, you see a lot of phones with it as well. You have the HTC ThunderBolt on Verizon, first phone to have 4G LTE capabilities, and then you have the HTC Inspire 4G on AT&T. 4G capabilities as well, although there are some issues with the upload speeds on this that people are complaining about. Otherwise, specs are very similar. 1 GHz Snapdragon processors in both of these, 4.3-inch displays, no front-facing camera on the Inspire, but front-facing camera on the Thunderbolt. Both have 8 megapixels cameras. Body's a little bit different, but hey, $100 for this one, $249.99 for this one. Is the speed bump on Verizon enough to make it, worthy of consideration? Two 4G phones that look pretty similar, but have a few differences under the surface. You have the HTC ThunderBolt here with Verizon. As I said, first device on Verizon to take advantage of their blazing fast, or at least theoretical blazing fast 4G speeds. And then you have the HTC Inspire 4G, even though AT&T's branding it as a 4G device. 4G, let me give you the quotes, 4G. The download speeds are pretty decent, but the upload speeds are absolutely terrible since HSUPA is not enabled. Now, they just filed an amended report with the FCC, so HSUPA will be coming to this device, but still, it's kind of false advertisement to be branding a device as 4G when it's really not 4G. Anyway, both have 1 GHz Snapdragon processors. Now, here's where, at least for me, if I was a potential buyer, this would be a point of contention for me. $249.99 for this device. After any rebates, anything like that, $250 for this one, $100 for this one. And yeah, you miss out on some things like the kickstand on the back and, the front-facing camera. But other than that, 1 GHz processor, 4.3-inch display, Sense 2.0 on both of these, actually a better version of Sense on the AT&T version, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. But, it's 150 extra bucks. And, in my opinion, AT&T's price plans now are more competitive than Verizon's. So, excuse me. So if you look at it that way, this might be, the dogfight might be over, this might be the better device for you. That said, there are a lot of perks with the HTC ThunderBolt. You just have to decide if it's more of a money thing or more of a perks thing for you. Anyway, as I was saying, 1 GHz Snapdragon processor, both have the next-gen Snapdragon processor, 4.3-inch display on both of these, front-facing camera on the Thunderbolt, capacitive buttons with both. You see the earpiece is the new HTC earpiece. I seem to be doing that a lot in the video today. Then on the back you have the 8 megapixel camera with dual LED flash. Now you'll notice this one's very similar looking. It's nothing more than the HTC Desire HD in Europe. If you remember when we covered this at CTA Fall in late 2010, I remember saying and tweeting, and I was like, I hope this comes to the US. It's an absolutely gorgeous device. And it's here on AT&T. Kickstand on this one with a stereo speaker underneath. That said, if you put them up side by side each other, the Thunderbolt is noticeably thicker than the Inspire. The Inspire is a very thin device, but you can see, even though they look very similar, there it curves down much further. But then, it about the same in terms of dimensions around the edges. Now, like I said, kickstand on the back, volume rocker on the right of this one, 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, power button down on the bottom, your microphone, 1400 milliamp battery. Woo, woo, woo. 1400 milliamp battery, and it has a 32 gigabyte micro SD card, so that combined with the 8 gigabytes of internal storage, you have almost 40 gigabytes rather of internal space available to you. So 1400 milliamp battery. Now this is one of the downsides of the Inspire. It's actually one of the downsides of the Thunderbolt too, because even with the bigger battery, it's just battery life is absolutely terrible on the Thunderbolt, but it's just as bad on the Inspire. 1230 milliamp one on this. But let me first get into the specs here. Volume rocker on the left side, micro USB charging port, and 3.5mm headphone jack on the bottom. Undo this to access your micro SD card slot and your SIM card slot. And then over here on the side, I'm not going to pull it out because I don't want to pull the battery out and have to restart it and make you wait. Over here is the battery slot, and that's where you pull it out. 1230 milliamp battery in the HTC Inspire 4G, which really leads me to believe why HTC. Why do you do that? Because you look at the Evo battery life isn't great. It has a 1500 milliamp battery, and HTC has yet to explain to me why they can put a 1500 milliamp battery in the Evo, but they can't put a 1500 milliamp battery in the Thunderbolt. I can kind of get it with this one because it is landlocked, and that's the downside to this as well. Extended batteries, you're landlocked because it's a unibody construction. That said, it is an absolutely beautiful unibody construction, but I'm getting sidetracked. It is landlocked, so you can't do an extended battery. That said, you know, if we're going straight on construction, the Dogfight, this part of the Dogfight at least would go to the Inspire 4G. The build quality, absolutely fantastic. Not to say that it's not on a Thunderbolt as well, but this unibody build over here is absolutely beautiful, and is very pocketable thanks to how lightweight it is. Both of these run Android 2.2 with HTC's Sense 2.0. It's the newest version of Sense. It's a little bit newer than what you've seen on the Evo Shift, some of the other devices that are out on the market right now. That said, AT&T's really done a good job, which is, you know, given AT&T's history, is very unusual. They've done a good job of keeping most of it pretty unlocked as opposed to Verizon that's locked it down. For example, we'll go here and you'll notice that the bars down here at the bottom, the app trays are a little bit different. That's because you can customize them in Sense 2.0. So you can find, you know, we'll go to skin. I can change this one to metal as well. And let's see here, go to metal, and you can see I can customize it as well. Here's where the AT&T one has the advantage. You see down here in the right-hand corner where it says Get More. You don't have that option on the Verizon version. They've disabled what's called HTC Sense 2.0, which is something that comes with the newer version of Sense, which allows you to download ringtones, wallpapers, skins, other things from HTC servers, where, you know, you don't have to stick to just these skins in your library. You can download a couple of new ones as well. So let's say I want to get more. I can go to the HTC Hub, which is part of HTCSense.com, and I can pick Chinese New Year, Music Lover, Memories, etc., and download those, you know, etc., and download those, whereas I'm stuck on the Verizon one. I go to, you know, I have those 5 and then I'm stuck. So, you know, it's trade-off, but that does kind of bother me, that Sense. And you lose the ability, if you go into apps, for example, and we'll cover the apps in just a second, but you lose the ability for all the other Sense features, like you'll see on this one, HTC Hub, HTC Likes. Now, there are several options, like Find My Phone, and you know, if your phone's silent somewhere and it's in the couch and you need to ring it, you can do that through HTC Sense, whereas you can on this. So they've really done a good job of preserving the unlocked feel of this one, whereas Verizon's locked it down, you know, which is very typical of Verizon, very untypical of AT&T, or atypical for them to keep it unlocked, but still nice that they did. Okay, pre-installed on both of these devices, you know, the Thunderbolt has a lot of bloatware pre-installed, quite a bit out of the box. AT&T has their typical Family Map, Code Scanner, Navigator, Blockbuster on both of these devices, BitBop on the Verizon one. Cool feature called Blocked Callers, which this one has as well, but it's a little bit more hidden in the menu. Now you see when you go down through here, the HTC Sense stuff, My AT&T, Live TV. So you see some AT&T elements like YP Mobile. This is a Wi-Fi hotspot, so you can use it to connect several users and, you know, use it as a Wi-Fi hotspot when you're in a coffee shop or you're traveling. And this one has the capability of doing that as well. But you'll see just a ton of Verizon bloatware, BitBop, City ID. Then when you scroll down, Let's Golf 2. Let's go down to Rhapsody, Rock Band, TuneWiki, VCast app, VCast Media, VZ Navigator. YouTube isn't bloatware. Go down through here, Mobile IM, Mobile Hotspot. Like I said, that one's capable. This one's capable of doing Mobile Hotspot as well. So there's just a lot of stuff pre-installed on this device, and the problem is with both of these devices you can't remove the pre-installed stuff. I can't remove YP Mobile any more than I can remove Rock Band on the Verizon one. I just was shocked, you know, given, I don't know, I was just shocked that there was that much that came out of the Verizon one out of the box. The widgets on both of these devices are very similar, but again, this is where you get into the benefits of having HTCSense.com as opposed to not having HTCSense.com. So we'll click and bring those up, and we'll go to widgets, for example. Now you'll notice that we can get more HTC widgets here, but again, you know, if you want ringtones, it'll say on the AT&T version, get more HTC ringtones, whereas it doesn't say it on the Verizon, on the Thunderbolt. So you have your typical stuff here. I've installed battery life, but with both of these, and it's very odd because I rarely cover two HTC devices, so they're oddly similar in this department, but you can see calendar, for example, you have the HTC version and the Android version. So if you go with HTC versus Android, pretty stock, you know, Android kind of ugly widget there, as opposed to this, we scroll over and you have 3 different options, and they're all beautifully polished. They're great widgets. I can select that, for example, and you can see my agenda pops up, and it's in that theme kind of color that I picked a few minutes ago. So, you know, the HTC's widget's absolutely wonderful. And then let's go into here, for example, and let's go to sound set. Let's go to new sound set. And you see that it's stuck there, as opposed to, let's go into sound set, new sound set, and you see where it says get more. I can go down into HTC Hub and get more. So just the customization options, you know, are to me a worthwhile thing in the Inspire 4G. But that said, let's take a look at the browser test. Let's get an idea here. Both are, like I said, supposedly running 4G. I'll give you a spoiler. Verizon's is far faster, but I've had intermittent issues with both of these. So, you know, ever since Orlando, for whatever reason, I don't know if Verizon's LTE network is having issues under the strain of new 4G devices, or what it is, but I have kind of in and outs with Verizon as well. Now, you know, that said, maybe it'll work well in this video, but if you notice some cutouts, that's why. The mobile hotspot seems to cut out as well. Yeah, share location, we'll do phone dog. Oddly though, you know, a lot of people have asked me how this compares to the Evo. Whoops, I need phonedog.com. A lot of people have asked me how this compares to the Evo, and actually it's a little bit heavier, but the dimensions are almost exactly the same. So a little bit heavier, but still. So you can see the site here, and we're waiting for both of these to load, so I'll wait before I do the pinch to zoom test. Okay, so the Inspire is loaded, and you can see pinch to zoom reasonably fast on this device, and then we'll wait and we'll do the Thunderbolt one as well. But, you know, little to no lag, very pleasurable for the most part web experience. I don't know who this good looking dude is right here. Whoop whoop. Do people still do that? Whoop whoop. Whoop, there it is. Anyway, pinch to zoom very quick on that. Portrait and landscape, pretty responsive, although, you know, Android still has that problem of lack of transition effects, makes it very blocky, kind of ugly. And then you have the Thunderbolt over here. Let's see how fast it is. Pinch to zoom responsiveness seems to be about the same to me, maybe a little faster on the Thunderbolt, but you can see both of these with advertisements running in the background. They are flash capable since they're running Android 2.2. And you can see, yeah, pinch to zoom, pretty responsive on it as well. Now you get these options in the browser: back, add bookmark, bookmarks, windows. So this is running obviously HTC Sense. It's not, you know, the stock version of Android 2.2, so you do have some minor customizations. But HTC's done a fantastic job of tweaking, modifying, customizing their stock user interface to really appeal to people. And this is one of those things to me where they've done a very good job with everything. It's very organized, very clean. And, you know, I want to open up a second page. I can add, whoops, not a bookmark. Open up a new window like that. Let's say I want to go back, scroll right back over. Very easy to do, and very clean, and it's something that's getting closer and closer by the minute to Apple's iOS in terms of ease of use.